I think that both advertising and content work best when they're in some sort of partnership together. So often we think that it's this choice between one or the other, but oftentimes they can complement each other so well. So for the clinic that you're talking about, sure, you could run banner ads and Facebook ads or whatever you decide to run that clicks over to, a purchase page or a product page. The chances of that converting are, as we all know, pretty small. How many of us see a banner ad, click on it, and then immediately make a purchase, right? It's often a much longer thought process for us, particularly if it's, a service like that, acupuncture. If I'm finding it via an ad and not via searching, I'm probably not going from, wow, I've never thought about getting acupuncture before, to sign me up. No further questions, right?
So true.
Something like that. There's a research phase, there's a consideration phase. And so what would probably be more beneficial is to run ads leading to content that is informative and helps people move further down that funnel. So, you know, for example, I've got a 10-month-old. So, Facebook and the whole internet knows that I'm a new mom. And if I were to get a targeted ad, and I'm not far from Charlotte, so maybe I'd be in the demographic, I could get a targeted ad that says how acupuncture can help new moms. And I'd say, that's weird. I hadn't thought of how acupuncture might be helpful. Let me click that. I read the article that your client wrote about the various ways it could help with certain types of pain or stress or whatever else that's particular to me. And then I say, wow, okay, I had never thought about this before, but it seems like it's a great fit for me. I'm going to dig further and maybe schedule an appointment or a consultation of some kind. I probably wouldn't have just seen an ad that said, get acupuncture now, and been like, sure, that sounds great. But, being guided by some helpful content down that path, I get closer to that purchase point. And so that combination of creating really valuable content and then using smart ad targeting to serve it up to potential customers who are the right fit is probably the best way to balance those two things.
I love how you set that up. I mean, because you're absolutely right. Because a lot of times what we do, boom, and we are recording. So I'm really excited to have Melanie Deziel with us today. I mean, this is something that, man, during all this madness that's going on, it's great to have a system in place, right?
That's for sure.
You
Yeah.
want to, I mean, if there's anything that could really help people get through challenging times, is to have something already laid out, a nice, easy place that you can keep moving forward on. So I want to welcome you onto the podcast. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me here. And yeah, those systems I think are so key, especially when we have so much uncertainty like we all do right now.
Mhm.
Having something reliable that you could fall back on, even for just one little part of your life can be, if not just a productivity hack, it's definitely like a mental health hack to be like, I don't have to worry about this one thing at least.
Definitely from the whole mental space. I mean, it's really cool that we are talking a lot more about mental health, and we're changing that whole narrative behind it. It's not, people that are just talking to themselves in the street anymore. Everybody has some form that we should all be working on. Even if you're at your peak, right? You can always get higher.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
give us a little bit of background on yourself. Give us a little bit of context, because I really believe that you have some great insight for small business owners. That's the majority of the people I'm working with, and those
Yeah.
guys are maxed out. But I really want the audience to really learn more about you first, and then we'll dive in.
For sure. So, what I do now is I help small business owners, marketers, and creators really learn how to tell their story. And not so much from a branding perspective. I'm not going to tell you who you are as an organization, but really, how do you convey who you are to other people through content? And for some people, that's a podcast, a blog, whatever, videos, whatever it may be that you use to put your story out into the world. And I come to that from a background as a journalist. So, I studied journalism, both investigative reporting, so really on the hard news side, and arts and cultural criticism, so all the way to the other side, the softer stuff. And, what I learned there was so many skills that are really practical for those of us who didn't have that journalism education. Marketers, small business owners, we have to figure out, how do we interview our customers? How do we find stories hidden in our day-to-day? How do we convey information to our audience in a way that they can understand and take action? And so I found that I was able to take those things I learned as a journalist and help brands put it into action. So I did that at the New York Times, at Huffington Post, at Time Incorporated, where I would help our brand partners tell their stories through content on all of our platforms. And for the last 5 years, I've been doing it one-on-one, in my own started Story Fuel, which is how we do that more directly with brands, entrepreneurs, creators of all kinds.
Love it, love it. So what was the catalyst that kind of got you out of journalism into like this, being an entrepreneur?
I think, like for a lot of people, it was necessity. If I'm being totally honest, I was graduating from graduate school, so I went back and studied in graduate school. When I got out, it was the midst of all newsrooms were downsizing. They were going through layoffs. We were moving everything digital, and so there were fewer jobs. And I just found that I was having a really hard time, finding the kind of role that I was hoping for, working for a newspaper, for a magazine. But what I did see is that there were a lot of opportunities in marketing. I think as things went digital, as we've all seen, there was a lot more types of marketing that needed to be handled for all these organizations. And so it was sort of a light bulb moment for me of saying, okay, I can take these things that I thought I would apply in journalism, how to find stories, how to interview people, how to, educate an audience and bring stories to life in all these different ways. And I can put those to use on the marketing side, and so it was really just necessity of figuring out okay, how am I still going to do this thing that I love, even when, there's fewer and fewer jobs out there to do it.
I love that. I love that. I mean, because, this is probably a place that I think that a lot of people are probably kind of playing with now, right? With everything going on.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
mean, was it something that you and your colleagues were easily able to kind of find, or was it something that kind of took some poking around and maybe trying to experiment and really try to hack away at different processes to figure out what's the right mix there for like small business?
I think, yeah, I think I got lucky in that it was a recruiter who said like, hey, your skills kind of match, right? Like, I know we were looking for this kind of job, but there's these other kind of jobs that might be a fit. And so for me, that was sort of the realization of, okay, yeah, she's got a point there. I could do the same kind of work just for a different boss, right?
Mhm.
And I think so many of the things that I've done throughout my career and with the clients that I advise is it comes from that open-mindedness, that willingness to do something that maybe you hadn't thought of in the first place and try something new. And so I really have a policy of trying to be open to the unexpected possibilities, which I know can sound like a really big idea, but I just mean that sometimes an opportunity you weren't expecting comes knocking. And if you're totally closed-minded to it, you could miss a huge opportunity. So at least being open to trying new platforms, trying new things, testing things out, experimenting, there's so many ways you could discover something that works really well for you that you never planned.
Melanie, you just said a mouthful right there. Honestly, seriously, because to me, that is it, right? During these moments, any moment in life, honestly,
Yeah.
I'm kind of sitting here, but this is, good times, crazy times, whatever. Having that open mindset to at least see what else is out there. And I think you also did something else that was key. You also worked with somebody else that saw that in you, right? So they were able to kind of give
Yeah.
you a little guidance, right? I think that twofold is really, really crucial.
100%. And I think we can find that kind of relationship with someone in different parts of our life. So, it might be your business partner. It might be your life partner. It might be a mentor, a coach, someone in a mastermind. There's so many different places where you could find that kind of perspective. I think it is really important that sometimes the people sort of outside of our immediate perspective can really help us make a big decision like that. Another great example of that is it was actually my husband, who was at that point just my boyfriend, who saw that I had an opportunity to do this work for myself, not to just work within a company, but he said, there are so many brands that could use your help, and you're going to have to do it one by one, job by job, unless you sort of have this entrepreneurial spirit and you're able to work with them all at the same time, or many at the same time. And I don't think I ever would have seen it that way. I always was thinking, okay, I helped this company, like on to the next job,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was his outside perspective that said, I think you're a consultant and you just don't realize it.
I love that, man. So what's his background, if you don't mind me prying in on?
So he's more the business side. So he has a background in finance, having worked at like JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley and those types of organizations. And he works now as the CEO of a fantasy football app. So
Man,
he's
I'm jealous.
in the
I'm
tech
jealous.
space business. Well, you could use the app. Go for
Nice,
it. For
nice,
anyone,
nice.
it's a fantasy life app.
Love it. Well, honestly, everything you're saying is really, I believe, valuable to the audience, because finding those outside voices, being open to them, because that's a
Yeah.
part of it as well. And so, so let me just kind of give you a real world example. I think this will be really fun for everyone. So I work with a clinic out of Charlotte, North Carolina, actually. And it's one
Mm-hmm.
of those women's health, acupuncture type of clinic, small business style. But, they're like, man, let's just run ads because it's easy. Advertising. We'll throw up a couple
Sure.
pictures. We'll do some banner stuff. We'll do some radio stuff, and we'll drop 10 to 12K, right? And I'm like, guys, yeah, we could, but if we could build a brand over time with some content, I think that will pay off more dividends Yes, it is a time commitment. Yes, it's expensive. How do you have those advertising versus content marketing conversations?
I think that both advertising and content work best when they're in some sort of partnership together. So often we think that it's this choice between one or the other, but oftentimes they can complement each other so well. So for the clinic that you're talking about, sure, you could run banner ads and Facebook ads or whatever you decide to run that clicks over to, a purchase page or a product page. The chances of that converting are, as we all know, pretty small. How many of us see a banner ad, click on it, and then immediately make a purchase, right? It's often a much longer thought process for us, particularly if it's, a service like that. Acupuncture, if I'm finding it via an ad and not via searching, I'm probably not going from, wow, I've never thought about getting acupuncture before, to sign me up. No further questions, right?
That's true.
Something like that. There's a research phase, there's a consideration phase. And so what would probably be more beneficial is to run ads leading to content that is informative and helps people move further down that funnel. So, you know, for example, I've got a 10-month-old. So, Facebook and the whole internet knows that I'm a new mom. And if I were to get a targeted ad, and I'm not far from Charlotte, so maybe I'd be in the demographic, I could get a targeted ad that says how acupuncture can help new moms. And I'd say, that's weird. I hadn't thought of how acupuncture might be helpful. Let me click that. I read the article that your client wrote about the various ways it could help with certain types of pain or stress or whatever else that's particular to me. And then I say, wow, okay, I had never thought about this before, but it seems like it's a great fit for me. I'm going to dig further and maybe schedule an appointment or a consultation of some kind. I probably wouldn't have just seen an ad that said, get acupuncture now, and been like, sure, that sounds great. But, being guided by some helpful content down that path, I get closer to that purchase point. And so that combination of creating really valuable content and then using smart ad targeting to serve it up to potential customers who are the right fit is probably the best way to balance those two things.
I love how you set that up. I mean, because you're absolutely right. Because a lot of times what we do, and they're one of my clients, so I'm working with them, and there's a multiple thoughts in the room, right? And we normally
Yeah.
tend to go to our corners, and we're like, oh, it's either black or white. We either got to do that, or we don't do content, and it's like it's this siloed mentality that we just kind of go to either side as if there's not something in the
Yeah.
middle. And what you said in the middle probably will have the best return.
Yeah, well, and people sometimes have the same discussion when it comes to like search engine optimization, SEO, and they say,
Mhm.
well, okay, we're going all in on search. Like, forget Facebook ads, forget everything else. We're just going to put all our money into buying up keywords. And that's really great for everyone who starts their journey with a search, but not all of your customers or potential customers start their journey that way. So, I mean, you hear a lot of conversation around the marketing mix. And so I think for small businesses, especially when you're trying to distribute your risk. Most of us don't have unlimited funds to just put all of our eggs in one basket, right? So being able to spread things around, try a little bit of, buy a few keywords and buy a few Facebook ads and write a few articles and test things out to see what works. And then as you get that data that says, okay, these keywords didn't work, let's try some different ones. Okay, this piece of content performed really well, let's make more content like that. You can continue to optimize based on what your customers and their data is telling you is working versus what your corner tells you is the only solution.
Nah, that's true. That's true. But everybody in my corner, those guys are for me. Those guys are the best. Right.
It's true. It's true.
I, I mean, so if you don't mind, I mean, because I think one of the things that I'm realizing about how you operate is that systematic way of not all or nothing, but there's a process
Right.
that you want to take people through when trying to actually roll out content. And small business owners, you already know how this goes. They're like, man, I don't got time to think about content. I mean, I'm not sure what to write. I wrote 5 blocks. That's all I got.
Yeah.
You know, it is one of those.
Surely that's enough.
That's it. I mean, so do you
Yeah.
mind just kind of walking through, because you had a couple great points between what to focus on versus the format, and I think that's a great thing for small businesses to really tap into.
Yeah. 100%. So, I recently wrote a book called The Content Fuel Framework: How to Generate Unlimited Story Ideas. And, the whole thing we were trying to do there was give folks like small business owners, like marketers, this kind of system that's easy, because if you haven't been trained in how to come up with content ideas, journalism, communications, or similar, then you don't know where to start. And you might just go with a few quick ideas and then you run out of steam, right? And that can sometimes convince us that I don't have the skills, or I'm not good enough, I'm not creative enough. And like, that's totally bogus. Like, we're not going down that path. Everyone's got it in their head. So The only thing you really need to know is that every content piece, no matter where you publish it, no matter what it's about, it has two components. The first is a focus. It's about something, right? The content has to be about something. There's a topic or a theme. And then there's a format. It's the way you choose to bring that story to life, such as through video, through audio, through written content, or something else. So once you understand that, it becomes really easy for you to make a process and say, okay, so what will our focus be this time? And, in the book, and we can chat about a few here, we run through 10 common, focuses that you might choose, things like people or history or data, process. We walk through some of those. So you choose your focus. What are we going to focus on? And then you choose your format. Okay, what's the best way for us to bring that to life? And they're in that order on purpose. I think a lot of times when we don't have much experience in content creation, we start opposite and we say, okay, I need a video idea, or I need an Instagram idea, right? We get really stuck on a particular format, and sometimes we end up forcing stories that don't really fit into a particular box. So you start with that focus. That's your step one. What are we going to focus on? What is this content about? And then once you have the answer there of the story that you want to tell, okay, ask yourself step two, what's the best way to bring that story to life? Is it through writing or audio or video or something else?
I love that. I mean, because one, it does definitely try to flip the model. I mean, because you're absolutely right. People say I'm a great writer, so I'll write. Period. Done. End of story. I like podcasting. I listen to podcasts. Therefore, I'll do a podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And so, what's some of the common hurdles or struggles that you think when people come up with that actual focus part? When they're like, okay, I know that, we're let's just kind of stay with the healthcare model. And why should I talk about business? I'm not sure if that applies to my business. Like,
Yeah.
you mind kind of talking about what's the right focus
Sure.
for like businesses to kind of tap into maybe?
Yeah, of course. So the good news is that you want to use a mix of different focuses. You don't want to get too stuck on one. Just like you said, I'm good at podcasts or I'm good at writing, you get stuck into one. Sometimes the same thing happens is on the focus side, right? Where we say, okay, I'm really good at writing about our employees, so we're just going to do an employee profile every other day, right? And
Mhm.
that's only so compelling. That's only sharing one side of your story. So what we want to do is kind of find a mix. Now, I think people focused content, like the example I just mentioned, talking about your employees, is one of the really great places to start, because it allows you to talk not only to people inside your organization, whether in our healthcare example, that might be your doctors, your nurses, any of the practitioners that you have, your employees of any type. You could talk about your customers or your clients or your audience, whatever that term is for you, the people who are receiving your products and services. You can talk about your community, your partners, your vendors, your providers. There's so many different types of people that you could create content about that really demonstrate your values as an organization. And again, helps your audience see themselves in that content, saying, oh, okay, I'm a new mom. That's content about a new mom who successfully used acupuncture. Then this must be a good fit for me now that I've seen some content relevant for me. So that people focused content is a really good place to start. I think if you're new or you're looking for, one place to focus your attention, that probably gives you the most breadth. You could talk about different types of people.
Love that. Yeah, it's perfect. That's perfect, especially for the whole healthcare model.
It's
So,
true.
you have obviously built out something that I think a lot of small businesses wish that they could put into their business, which is a systematic way to kind of train people up that doesn't require you to eat up lots of time off your clock. So, do you
Yeah.
mind talking about your business more? So, let's talk about Story Fuel, because I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's the right way to kind of go about looking at business as well.
Of course. So, I'm going to preface all of this by saying we're having this conversation in a COVID world, which is, not the way we normally operate. So I'll try to talk about how we operate normally, and then I can even talk about a little bit about how we're trying to adjust
Yeah,
given
please.
the
That'd be
way
great.
things have changed. So a big part of our business, probably 30 to 40% of our revenue usually, is things like trainings, workshops, and keynotes. So I do a lot of speaking at conferences, usually when I'm allowed to, right? When these events are happening. Me and my team, we will do corporate workshops for teams, teaching them how to use these kinds of principles to tell their story. We do a lot of trainings, workshops, all that kind of stuff, really focused on in-person, face-to-face, training people how to become more confident and creative storytellers. Obviously, a big part of that is not possible right now. So that's been a challenge for us, adjusting to, a huge shift in that. And some of it has gone virtual. I'm sure we've all taken part in a good number of, webinars and Zoom calls, but that's not quite the same for us from a business perspective. Um, Another part of the business is we also do coaching. So we work one-on-one with individuals, whether that's through our mastermind, which is sort of a 12-week coaching program, or one-on-one kind of coaching. So that's a good part of our business as well. We also do consulting. So some businesses that we work with, maybe we do a training for them, but they need some sort of ongoing help in implementing that. Or they need some ongoing help figuring out more who they are before we can get to the point of training the team on how to share that. So we do some consulting as well. So those are probably some of the core pillars of our business. And then there are some mixed things as well. With my background as a writer, I do also some writing and freelance, writing on the side still because it is my first love. And we wrote the book, obviously. So the book, we have book sales coming in and some printables and products that are related to that on our website as well. So it's a good mix. And I think it speaks to the point earlier about not putting all your eggs in one basket. If we were only doing speaking and training, then this whole time period would be a lot tougher for us because we would have lost everything, and there are some trainers and speakers who are in that boat right now. We're really lucky that we have revenue spread across other activities like, the masterminds, the coaching, the consulting, the books, and other things.
Absolutely. I mean, it is challenging for a lot of people that were used to doing face-to-face business, and whether that's through, just going on site, how I normally do, or, having the speaking engagements and everything else. I think I really kind of miss it too a little bit. At first,
I do.
At first I was like, I'm okay, especially in March. I was like, because I was traveling already, I was already kind of doing it.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, just take a month off. I sit back and enjoy the fam. Now I'm like,
But as we get on month 4 and month 5, you're like, airplane food sounds pretty good right about now.
I want those peanuts. I want those peanuts back, man. I mean,
Yeah.
so let's talk about the future for a little bit, and then we're about to wrap up because, I know you guys got a brand new home and I want to give you guys time to kind of get settled in. But,
That's right.
as far as the future when it comes to content marketing in this COVID world, and hopefully we'll move out of this world sometime in 6 to 18 months, who knows? But
Yeah.
what's your thoughts about putting a nice bow on a key takeaway about what content should do for
So
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So one of the things that I think is really important for businesses, especially small businesses, to focus on in this near term before we're out of this COVID world that we're operating in is actually to think about process focused content. And what I mean by that is any content that walks your audience through a process, teaches them how to do something, coaches them through getting something done. And I'll give you an example. My guess is, Joe, you needed a haircut at some point. You
Need one right
someone
now.
in your household. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my guess is your someone in your family or your household may have been looking up how to give haircuts, to do a trim, right?
That's me.
There you go. So that's a very basic example, but there are so many things that all of us are having to change about our habits, about our buying habits, about the things that we would normally outsource or hire or buy. We are now having to do ourselves to make ourselves and to fix ourselves. And so if your business can create content that continues to engage and help your consumers so that when the time comes, they're able to continue working with you. Joe, imagine as you were trying to figure out how to do a haircut, or your partner was trying to figure out how to do your haircut, a local barber was offering, process focused content, helping consultations on video, walking you through just a touch up to keep it so that you're ready for when the haircut time is acceptable, right?
Right.
When the ban is lifted and you're able to go, you're going to go right back to that person who helped you when you were in a time of crisis. And so whether you're helping your audience maintain their product, maintain their health, fix something, adapt something, do something at home, improvise, whatever it is that you can help coach them through in this near term until life is back to air quotes normal. Now is the time where you create those really deep relationships with your audience with that process focused content so that they feel a strong kinship to you. This is someone who helped me. This is someone who cares about me. This is an organization that wants me to succeed and do my best and be my best. As soon as they're able to, they're going to want to give that gratitude back with their continued business because you really helped them through that tough time. So if you need one thing to focus on in this particular time of uncertainty, that process focused content is going to be where to go. And if you don't trust my word for it, you can take a look at Google Trends and you'll see that right around the second week of March, around the 13th or 15th, searches for things like tutorial, DIY, how-to, instructions all took a sharp increase and have pretty much maintained that increase through to today. So, people are looking for this type of content. Now is a great time for you to be teaching your audience.
It's perfect. It's a perfect way to summarize it, guys. I mean, like, honestly, that is killer takeaway. I mean, because everyone is looking, and content can be challenging, but man, we're also capable of doing it. I mean, once you get out there and you start doing it on a regular basis, it's crazy how many different ideas you can really come up with. So Melanie, this has been an awesome conversation, I mean, the whole the whole process of trying to figure out how to do things, it's just like, it could be so simple to you, but man, it could be like climbing a mountain for like somebody else, So
That's right. That's right.
I want to
Well,
give you one. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, the example I always give is we've all had, whether it's you or your kids, right? Or some kids that you were in charge of, at some point got mesmerized by the guy spinning the pizza dough,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That guy standing there or making pretzels, you watch them do that.
yeah.
It's such a simple thing. And they do it hundreds, if not thousands of times a day, but we can't do it. And so we're mesmerized. Wow, how do they do that? Throwing the dough or spinning it and making the pretzels. So, it might seem silly to you. It might seem like nothing, but that's only because you do it all the time. It's your superpower and you don't even know it. So don't be afraid to share that with others. They're going to be, they're going to see value in being able to try to absorb some of that superpower from you.
I got one more revenue stream idea for your business.
Let's do it.
I think you should totally help small business owners hire other journalists.
That sounds great. I would love to help that.
You could train them up, and then after that, you can free them out to the world. I mean, because it is something that I
Yeah,
think that journalists have this insight that business people are just so X's and like O's. Are they really focusing on what they know? And they're not
that's true.
thinking about this asphalt landscape. So just my little 2 cents or 1 cent, whatever it's
Definitely.
worth.
Well, if you're not going to work with me on that,
Mhm.
then there are definitely some services out there that might be able to help you. I highly recommend hiring a former journalist, a freelancer to help you do this stuff, because you're absolutely right, Joe. Their instinct is spot on for finding good stories, for improvising, for working on deadline and taking feedback from editors, right? They're the perfect partners to help you create this content and tell these stories. So a tool like Contently, it's content but with ly, so look up Contently. They have a service where they can help match you with different writers who may be able to help you. You could put up a listing for a freelance hire, and state that you're looking for journalism experience through LinkedIn or monster.com or Indeed or any of these sites. Definitely look for those journalists, because they're going to be able to help you tell your story in totally new ways.
You're just giving away too much free game right here, Melanie. I have to stop you because people need to work with you first and foremost. That's what we're going to focus on. So, I mean, guys, honestly, bare minimum, I have my book on the way, Content Fuel Framework. Don't play yourself. Go out and get the book. Check it out. If you're struggling, please tell everybody how to find you, if you don't mind, Melanie.
Yeah, so you could learn more about the book at contentfuelframework.com. So you'll learn there's different places you could buy the book if you want the ebook version or the print version. We've got both of those available. There's also a companion workbook. So I know that sometimes reading the book is one thing, but then turning it into action is another thing. So there's a companion workbook. You'll find the information on that same link, contentfuelframework.com. And that's got literally hundreds and hundreds of prompts. So if that's more your style, to sort of fill in the blank and answer those questions to find those ideas, we can help you there too. So check that out. And storyfuel.co, so it's .co, not .com, but it's storyfuel.co is where you can learn all about our team, what we do, how you could work with us, all the different ways we can help you figure out how to tell your story better.
I love it. I love it. So I'll have all those links in the actual show notes. And you know what? Thank you again for taking a moment on a Friday morning so we can talk. Hopefully you guys love the brand new home that you guys are in and love the neighborhood and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we're settling in, and I really appreciate the chance to come here and share my story.
Boom. It's out.